Welcome to the Las Vegas Review-Journal Judicial Primary Debates. Here's your host, Victor Jakes.
Hello, I'm Victor Jakes. Welcome to the Las Vegas Review-Journal's online debate. We are hosting a debate for Department 15 in Clark County District Court. We are joined by the three candidates for that seat, including incumbent Joe Hardy Jr. and the two people seeking to replace him, Adam Breeden and Tegan Christine Machnich. We'll start by giving each candidate a 1-minute opening statement. Adam, go ahead.
Good evening. As you just stated, I'm Adam Breeden. I've practiced law here in Clark County for 17 years as a courtroom litigator representing both plaintiffs and defendants. Just to tell you a little bit more about me academically, I graduated summa cum laude from the Ohio State University, where I studied law a semester abroad at Oxford University, England. I then attended the University of Cincinnati College of Law, where I was on the law review and externed for a United States District Court judge. During my career, I've won awards for my commitment to pro bono legal services to our community, and I previously served on the State Bar of Nevada's Fee Dispute Committee. Overall, I've been licensed to practice law in 4 different states and 11 different federal jurisdictions, and I've handled matters in Nevada's district and justice courts, as well as the Clark County District Attorney Family Support Division, the Nevada Department of Motor Vehicles, the Nevada Workers' Compensation System, the Nevada Court of Appeals, and the Nevada Supreme Court. This year, I'd like to bring a change where it's needed and serve as a new judge in District Court Department 15.
Thank you very much, Adam. Judge Hardy?
Thank you, Victor. First, I want to thank the Review-Journal for hosting. Thank you, Victor, as well. Hope everyone is staying safe. A little bit about my background. I'm a third-generation Nevadan. I grew up here in Clark County in Boulder City. I attended law school at Brigham Young University. I also graduated cum laude and was on law review there. One summer, I externed for Judge Lloyd D. George here in federal court, and it was there that the seed was planted for me to perhaps one day become a judge. As an attorney prior to becoming a judge, I handled all types of civil cases, representing plaintiffs and defendants in all types of litigation. I was an arbitrator for the Better Business Bureau, served on the Nevada Taxi Cab Authority Board, a lot of good training to be a judge. In 2015, I applied. I was one of 25 applicants for 2 open seats. I was selected by a bipartisan committee to be a finalist and then appointed by Governor Sandoval. In 2016, I won my retention election and asked for the voters' support this election as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Hardy. Tegan, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Tegan Christine Machnich. I am a proud attorney, wife, mother, and I'm asking for your support to be the next judge in District Court Department 15. I was not born and raised in Clark County. I chose to move here because I believed that it was a land of opportunity. I came here to start my career and my family over a decade ago because I believe that this is a community that values experience, hard work, and skill above all else. For the last 9 years, I have served our community as a public defender, most recently as a chief deputy. I've represented thousands of clients before our courts, and I've tried around 40 jury trials, experience second to none as a trial attorney in this race. Before that, I practiced at a large civil litigation firm. I am the most well-rounded candidate, and I'm asking for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Tegan. Adam, this first question is going to go to you, but all candidates will get a chance to answer. In criminal cases, judges have a lot of discretion in issuing sentences. While acknowledging that every case is different, do you think your sentences will tend to be more strict, be stricter or more lenient if you're elected?
I would say as a judge in criminal sentencing, I will be fair but firm. I know that we have a lot of specialty courts and deferment programs for people, but I also strongly believe in the legal philosophy that one of the purposes in criminal sentencing is to deter other people from committing similar crimes. And when we allow people to get on multiple DUIs or multiple offenses before any serious time is incurred, I think that sends a bad message to our community. So your question is very broad, but I would answer that fair but firm.
Thank you, Adam. Judge Hardy, you've been on the bench, you've issued sentences. How do you compare to your peers when it tends to handing out sentences?
Oh, that's a great question. So compared to my peers, hard to say. But I do take into, in sentencing, you take into a lot of different factors. You take in the person's background, you consider their criminal history, if any. You get a report that's called a PSI that has a lot of that information in there. You also have, of course, they're not guidelines here in Nevada, they're minimum and maximum terms in between which you sentence them. You also take into account, however, like Mr. Breeden said, attempts at rehabilitation, reintegration into society, and whether the PSI is recommending probation or not. You take into account the nature of the crime as well. So I take in all facts and circumstances into account when issuing my sentencing.
Thank you, Judge Hardy. Tegan, you talked about your experience working for the Public Defender's Office. How do you think you will be if you're in the judge assigning the sentences?
Well, thank you for that question. I don't think that I will be strict or lenient. I think that I will be fair. And as you noted, I do have experience in the criminal arena, and I am the only candidate in this race who has practiced in criminal law as an attorney. And so, as Judge Hardy did touch upon, there are so many factors to go into consideration, both a criminal history, the crime in question, the negotiations of the parties, chances at rehabilitation. I know how important our specialty courts are. I've worked with clients who have gone through those programs. And additionally, what happened in that individual offense and what is going to be reflected in the community going forward. So I'm the only person with that experience in this race, but I can honestly say that I won't be strict or lenient. I will be fair because I will take everything into account.
Thank you, Tegan. And our judicial primary debates will continue in just a moment.
All your listeners and followers, the best name of any podcast in the world is podcast.
Nobody's ever done it. Nobody's ever faked
Not that we
their
know
death.
of.
No.
When you work with Prince, you got to get used to the fact that he changes musicians like underwear. You know, like
Tom Brady. And Tom Brady, he's a quarterback in the Boston area.
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Alexa, play my flash briefing.
Here's what's new in today's news.
Stay in the loop of the latest information in the Las Vegas Valley with the Las Vegas Review Journal Flash Briefing. Every day, we will provide you with everything you need to know in news, business, weather, entertainment, and sports. Go to the Alexa app and search LVRJ News Briefing. Then say, Alexa, play my flash briefing to hear 3 minutes of the most important information in Las Vegas.
You're watching the judicial primary debate for Clark County District Court Department 15. It's part of an ongoing series of debates produced by the Las Vegas Review Journal to inform local voters about these important races. Judge Hardy, this question is for you. In the Review Journal's 2019 Judging the Judges survey, 77% of respondents recommended retention. Should voters be satisfied sending someone back to the bench who received the equivalent of a C grade from lawyers who appeared before you?
They definitely should. I think you need to take into account the grades of my peers. So on the district court, the civil criminal side of district court, in the retention score, I was ranked number 9 of 29 judges. So basically the top third of judges, which I think goes to my firmness, fairness, and ability to be a good judge and serve the voters here in Clark County.
Thank you, Judge Hardy. Tegan, on your website, you write that you're, quote, especially excited about the upcoming election because of the many progressive and diverse candidates who are daring to run for the bench this year, end quote. Is it appropriate for a judicial candidate to flaunt their political ideology?
I certainly don't intend that to be a political statement. I think that you can be judicially progressive and diverse without speaking to your politics. As is not proper, I will not state which party I am a part of, and I know that we can only do that if we are specifically asked. So that statement goes to being judicially progressive and experienced.
Thank you, Tegan. Adam, you're a personal injury attorney. Shouldn't voters be concerned that you'll face a learning curve when it comes to handling criminal cases?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think at least one of my opponents has raised that issue. And what I say in response is, I've passed 3 bar examinations on criminal law. I've written a published law review article about Fourth Amendment criminal search and seizure law. I do know that many judges in our community are practicing civil attorneys before they get a full or partial criminal calendar. You certainly go to a judicial college before you take the bench as well. And I have no reservations about being able to serve our community as a criminal law judge as well. Also, the dockets of the various judges change between all civil, all criminal, and half and half. And we don't know what the future holds for Department 15 right now. After this election, I think there's going to be a lot of new judges, and there'll probably be a lot of shuffling of the dockets as well. But I have no reservations about being a judge in criminal law matters.
Thank you, Adam. Judge Hardy, to you, in 2016, Nevada voters approved a background check initiative, which then Governor Brian Sandoval didn't implement. He was sued over that decision. In 2018, you ruled that he didn't have to enforce the initiative. Why did you overrule the will of the voters?
So I wouldn't call it overrule the will of the voters. It was the way that the ballot initiative was phrased that unfortunately led to that inevitable conclusion. The way it was phrased essentially avoided a fiscal statement at the legislature and caused Nevada to have to rely on basically our governor, our state, trying to tell the FBI what the FBI needed to do. Governor Sandoval attempted to work with, and it was clear in the record that he attempted to work with the FBI to implement that background check, and the FBI just, wouldn't do it. And so I really had no choice but to strike that ballot initiative down.
Thank you, Judge Hardy. Tegan, also on your website, you write excitedly that a large number of this year's judicial candidates are women. Are you implying that people should vote for you based on your gender?
No, but I do think that having a diverse bench, having a representative bench is important. And as we've been celebrating this year, we have the first female majority legislature and Supreme Court. And so I am proud of that and would like to further that in our courts. But no, it is not a qualification for judge.
All right. Thank you, Tegan. Adam, last question of this segment to you. As we've talked about, you currently work as a personal injury attorney. Should voters be concerned that you'll be predisposed to rule against businesses that are just trying to defend themselves from frivolous lawsuits?
Absolutely not. I've practiced in this county for 17 years, and the majority of my practice is as a defense attorney. I've represented numerous local casinos, large international insurance companies. I've worked for a large multi-state defense firm, but I've also had my own business, and I've represented the little guy, the injured victim, the minority or the downtrodden who needs an attorney to step up and defend their rights, and that's where I've come in as well. So I've easily represented both sides of the courtroom in that particular aspect.
Thank you, Adam. And stay tuned. This debate will continue right after these messages.
The Vegas Nation podcast is your source for all of your Las Vegas Raiders news. Subscribe and get fast takes and smart coverage. Download the Vegas Nation app and check out vegasnation.com to stay up to date with your Las Vegas Raiders.
For all your Raiders news, like us on Facebook, download the Vegas Nation app, and go to vegasnation.com.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. You're watching the judicial primary debate for Clark County District Court Department 15. Tegan, this question is for you. Obviously, you think you're the best candidate for the job, but do you think any of your opponents are unqualified or unsuited to be a district court judge?
Well, I certainly don't want to speak negatively of my opponents, other than to say I do feel that I would be the most qualified. However, I think that it is important that judges have experience in both civil and criminal law wherever possible, and that they have trial experience as an attorney prior to taking the bench. So with regard to having practice experience on both sides, civil and criminal, I am the only candidate in this race that has that. So while it is not completely disqualifying, I do think that it should be a concern for voters. Additionally, jury trial experience. My understanding is that Judge Hardy did not have extensive jury trial experience as a practicing attorney prior to taking the bench. And I know that I have the most jury trial experience as a practicing attorney of the attorneys in this race. And I think that is important to being able to be a fair and impartial judge and to hit the ground running, being able to understand what is needed by the litigants and the parties.
Thank you, Tegan. Adam, same question for you. Do you think any of your opponents are unqualified or unsuited for this job?
With due respect to Ms. Machnich, in terms of number of years that she's practiced as an attorney, she's easily in third place out of the candidates in this group. And that's not taking anything away from her. And I appreciate that she's touting some of her trial experience as well. Many prosecutors and public defenders get a lot of trial experience under their belt because they're trying maybe single-day trials, whereas I might be trying a case for a week or 2 weeks. A couple of years ago, I tried one for, I think, 21 days. The term underqualified would not describe any of the three candidates in this race. I do think that I have excellent academic history and work experience that I can represent the voters well in this race, but I certainly wouldn't say underqualified.
All right, thank you, Adam. Judge Hardy, you've been in the seat. What do you think of your opponents? Are you worried that they're unqualified or unsuited?
So I'm not worried about my opponents. I do know, however, that I am the most qualified. I am obviously the only one who has served as a judge. I've now been a judge just over 5 years. I've presided as a judge over literally dozens of jury trials, along with numerous bench trials, and I've been fair and impartial over those trials. So I do bring the experience to the job.
Thank you very much, Judge Hardy. Tegan, I just want to give you 30 seconds to respond to anything that Adam said.
I appreciate that. The legislature in the state of Nevada set the qualification to be a district court judge at 10 years of practice experience, and I have that qualification. And to some extent, you have to look at the quality of practice, and I have the most jury trial experience, and I'm the only one with practice experience on both sides in civil and criminal. And to his suggestion that I've tried mostly 1 to 2 day trials, the last 5 or 6 trials that I've had have gone into 2nd and 3rd weeks and have been life sentence qualified charges. So it's not a case of that.
Thank you, Tegan. I'm going to move on. Adam, you get this next question. I've only got about 30 seconds for each of your answers. Will you describe your overall judicial philosophy, including if you view the Constitution as a living document or if you believe a judge needs to uphold the original meaning of the text?
Yeah, so I think politically, many people would describe me as a liberal, but my judicial philosophy is that of an originalist or an intentionalist, meaning that the first thing we need to look at is what's actually written down on paper, and then we can turn to, if there's questions beyond that, we can turn to what the intent of the drafters of that statute or the Constitution were.
Thank you, Adam. Judge Hardy, same question. Will you give voters an idea of your judicial philosophy?
Sure. So one of my favorite judicial sayings, if you will, is justice delayed is justice denied. That holds very true here in District Court in Clark County, Nevada. We as judges have enormous dockets, and so a large part of our job is ensuring justice moves forward to allow the parties, the litigants, an opportunity to obtain that justice in a swift manner. Philosophically, I would say you look to the plain language first and foremost, and if there's ambiguity, you can look into the intent of the legislature or the signers of the Constitution.
Thank you, Judge Hardy. Tegan, what's your perspective?
My perspective is that as a district court judge, I would look to follow the letter of the law of the laws of the state of Nevada as interpreted by the Nevada Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals. I would do so in a timely manner so as to keep everything moving and not waste money. And I would do so without regard to the power of the people involved, because everyone must be treated equally under the court. As a district court judge, we are not often interpreting statutes anew. We are bound by what is given to us as precedent by our Supreme Court and appellate courts. So generally speaking, I don't think that that is something that you do, because it doesn't matter how you feel as a district court judge in the state of Nevada. It matters how you apply the law and precedent that you are bound by as a state court judge. Because
Thank you,
we are not
Tegan.
Article 3 constitutional judges.
Thank you. And we'll be back with closing statements in just a moment. Thank you again for joining us. You're watching the judicial primary debate for Clark County District Court, Department 15. We're going to move to closing statements. Tegan, 30 seconds.
Thank you. It's time for a change. Far too many of our judges got to where they are because of the political connections of their parents. In Department 15, you deserve a judge who has earned that position with their hard work, experience, expertise, and skill. I am that candidate. I will be that judge. I am Tegan Christine Machnich, and I'm asking for your vote.
Thank you, Tegan. Judge Hardy, 30 seconds for your closing statement.
Thank you. I want to say that in 2016, I was retained in a vote by the voters of Clark County and won that vote 60% to 40%. So I appreciate the voters' confidence here in Clark County. In my retention election, I asked for their support in this election as well. Being a judge is literally my dream job, and I appreciate the community's support in my re-election campaign. So thank you again.
Thank you, Judge Hardy. Adam, you've got the last word.
Yeah. So in closing, I do agree that change is needed badly in Department 15 for our community. In a short time in office, Mr. Hardy has an abysmal record of 40% error on appeal, equivalent to an F grade. In some of his more high-profile decisions, he allowed Title Max to gouge loan consumers with a clearly illegal loan product until he was unanimously overruled. And he injected his own personal politics, his own personal political beliefs into a case by invalidating that 2016 ballot initiative that over 420,000 residents of Clark County voted in for law. So this year, please vote for change, and please vote for me, Adam Breeden, for Judge in District Court Department 15.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you to all of our candidates, and thank you for watching this edition of Nevada Judicial Debates. Remember, you can find this program and more information on all these races at reviewjournal.com. We'll see you next time.